episode 8, actually like episode 8.5 of the recovery scene. We have Ronnie Morales with us. Y'all have no idea. We have, the universe has been coming against this interview for like weeks. It actually erased the last one. So clearly, Ronnie's got a story to share that is going to impact a lot of people. So that's why, not to be all weird, but that's why things are coming against it, So
yeah, and December 21st, shout out to you.
right.
So we're
All
making
right.
it work today. I'm glad.
Yeah,
So
me
yeah,
too. Me
where do
too.
I start off? My childhood. That's always where we start.
Always a good place. Yep.
Yeah, it's a good place. That's where a lot, well, now that I'm sober, I'm able to see, like I said last time, right, that now that I've been, maintaining sobriety, at least the longest I ever have. I have over a year now, and it's the longest I've ever been able to maintain.
It's
And
fantastic.
it's been very insightful. Like it's like a whole learning experience, and I've been able to see how like my childhood plays at least well, definitely a role in the way I act now, and a lot of the, I feel like a lot of the reasons I chose those coping skills of, you know drugs and alcohol.
And that's what
But
they
yeah,
are. They're bad coping skills.
yeah, I'm like,
That's just what
"Damn,
they are.
couldn't have picked some better ones," but that's just the way my life turned out. But going back to my childhood, I wouldn't think, nobody thought I would be the one in the family to have gone through this, because growing up I
Mhm.
was always on a roll. Like I said last time, my mom would it's this funny thing, and I'd get like 1B+, and she would flip her shit. She would flip her shit,
Yep.
and I
You
would
can
be
do better.
scared. I would be scared to bring like a B+ home or something.
Mhm.
But I was always that good kid. Like I was actually really shy growing up. Like I was, just because I was obviously like, they didn't know what was going on with me. Like I always felt different, like with my cousins, because I grew up in a Latino household, so they were all very like, oh, machismo and this and that. And I was more like, oh, the Little Mermaid. So it was
Right.
really, it
Yep.
was, it was just so easy to pick on me.
Mhm.
So right away I could tell I was different. Um, and it was always like oh, you're gay, with a negative connotation type of thing. It was always like a negative thing, and at the time I didn't really know what gay was. But I always still was into like the more feminine stuff, the pretty stuff, I guess, and I was always bullied for it, especially like in middle school and stuff. So I tried to basically mask that by like maybe toning it down, being shy, being more quiet, and always having girlfriends. Like I would
Mhm.
always have a girlfriend. Um, and growing up, like that's what I did, because I remember like, when like my parents, they weren't so fond of it. They would, I remember my dad one time, like when I went to Savers, they had like a toy section, and I immediately went for the Little Mermaid again, because I
Mhm.
love the Little Mermaid, and he was so upset with me. Like he was so mad at me. Like I just remember it was like one of the first times I felt like ashamed, like
Right.
immense amount of guilt for not being able to control like something that I genuinely like or am attracted to. So that was kind of sucky. Um,
That
but
was
yeah,
kind of sucky.
that was
you
kind of
know.
sucky. Like
Yeah.
I want the Little Mermaid, and you're a guy. I'm like, okay. Um, But anyway, from that toy store, eventually, this was the plan for me, my mom, and my dad. We were meant to move away from Arizona and go to Las Vegas, which now that I think of it, it's so crazy because I recently went sober. But we went to Las Vegas, and that was the last time I saw my dad. I remember before he left me that day at this random place with some lady, like him and my mom were arguing, and they were like fighting physically and all that. But I'll never forget, like he said, "I'll be back," and he didn't come back. But at the time, I didn't understand until like one day it hit me, because then me and my mom came back to Arizona, and I like just eventually asked her like, "Hey, where's my dad?" And she said he's not coming back. The way I just remember, like I said, like it just, I remember the way the lights were, like And I was like only like 4 or 5 years old. That's the thing. That's what mind boggles me, is like, damn, I remember how it felt, how everything looked.
Hmm.
And
It was a traumatic
now
moment.
that was like, it like really hit me that day. I'm like, damn, I'm really not gonna see my dad. But before then, like I felt like I never was able to make him proud because, like I was always like girly, or and he was always like drinking because I mean, I know I can't say like if he's an alcoholic, but now that I've been through my own experience, I am able, because I before I actually like got sober, like I really hated my dad because like the few memories that I have with him are always bad, right? Like
Hmm.
he's always drinking. He's taking me to like random places to go pick up drugs. So like I hated him, and now that I'm sober, so like over a year, like I'm able to grow compassion,
Right.
um, because now I understand, like that was he I don't know, he didn't get a chance, and which kind of sucks, but now I see that,
Mhm.
like he definitely had that.
Now, was that part of the reason that mom was like,
Yeah, and you know what's so crazy? I specifically remember so many times my mom would tell me, I just don't want you to turn out like your dad.
mm,
He had all this money in the bank, and he threw it all away because of drugs and alcohol. And
mhm,
it's so crazy to me. I mean, he's definitely not as like colorful and feminine as me, but I definitely turned out like him in that sense
mhm,
because, eventually like I started using, I mean, I played around with like weed and alcohol like 13, but it wasn't until um, like once I graduated high school, because I had a girlfriend, and like we like drank a lot, which she was my best friend. Like I went out with this girl for like 5 years. Like I've known her since we were 13, so we built such a strong relationship. So she was such an important part of my life because I came out to her. Um, she was my girlfriend. So after coming out to her, that felt very liberating. But
how'd she take it?
like,
Did
huh?
you kind of know?
She didn't. I think because at the time, well, I think, when I came out to her, she actually like told me, I kind of knew because we were like crying together and everything. It was such a moment. But I think we were really in love, and I still have such a big place in my heart. And that's why, like, I don't know, like I'm such a softie. Like I could really fall in love with a person. That's the thing about me. Like I fell in love with her, and she was like my first love. She was everything to me. But then we went to college, and then I actually met a guy, and which was like heavily involved in drugs and stuff. But I never wanted to touch the drugs. I was always like, no, thank you, I don't want that. Until I got in a car accident, and they prescribed me Percocet, and for like 2 months. It was such a horrible accident. I'm lucky to be alive, honestly. um, but yeah, they prescribed me Percocet, and I'll just remember, like, I'll always remember this part too, like where my arms had third-degree burns. Like I literally flew out of the car,
Oh, wow.
and I was in so much pain, and it was just such a crazy thing to experience, that car accident. It was so insane. But then like they took me to the hospital and everything, and I just remember that I don't like they gave me medicine as what I looked at it at that time.
Right, right.
They gave me medicine, and I just remember this feeling
Probably through
of,
the IV at that time. So it was like,
yeah,
boom.
yeah, I just felt like everything was gonna be okay, but I was so sure of it. Like it was an overwhelming amount of like
Yeah.
it was a lot, like, because growing up, I that weight is just there, and then finally
You've been
it
carrying
just,
around the weight of being different. You've been carrying around the weight of your dad's disapproval. You've been carrying around the weight of your dad leaving. And then
yeah,
it was like, oh my God, better living through science.
I
Like
know.
all that weight. Like, holy crap, this is what it feels like to not have all that crap on me. Hmm. I get it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. but I still didn't put the pieces together. I was like, oh, this is just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I'm just feeling really good today. Even though my arm is like coming off and everything, I feel amazing. um, but eventually they stopped the prescription and I go through withdrawal. Like, and I'm such a baby. Like, I was just like, oh my God, I keep going to the restroom and this and that. And then my ex's mom just gave me her Percocets, and from there it just clicked. I thought I found the answer to life. Not only did it like just make me feel better, like mentally, it made me feel like I could do anything that I
Right.
want. Like it was like, damn, like this is literally the answer to life. But quickly I found myself in trap houses, you
Hmm.
know, and
It's great
literally,
until it goes downhill, and then
yeah,
it goes
everything.
downhill quick.
Because I would work in like radio and TV, and I would take the pills before I would like go on air. And I was like, oh my God, I did so good. Like the nerves right before, because I would get nerves and like get nervous, but all of a sudden they just all went away. And
Yeah.
every time I thought I did amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, like we all know, eventually all that goes away. So I lost my girlfriend. That was my best friend. I lost my apartment with my, and then I lost the boyfriend at the time. And like, and then I just started like really being a bad person, you know, like I started like doing really bad things, like stealing from my own family and like just I never I just never like saw myself stealing from my own family. I
Yeah.
never saw myself doing like sexual acts for drugs. Like I
Right.
never saw myself, like I just remember one day like, and literally like I had no money, I had no gas in my car, but I made it to that trap house for just one pill, right? And they're like, yo dog, you gotta wait a minute. Like I was with these like really scary people and I'm like in the corner waiting for my one pill.
Right.
And it just gave me time to observe, like there's people like picking at their faces, right? And then there's people like shooting up and like there's just so many different things. And I'm just there. I'm like, am I really here?
Right.
Right.
Like this is not my life. This can't be
Yeah.
my life.
And keep in mind, like some of these times I would literally be at these places and then I would go to the radio station or the radio event. Like people didn't know that I was like getting high
Yeah.
and like
It's funny
being,
because every addict and recovering addict is watching this right now going, like, yeah, I never thought I would steal. I don't know if you guys know what Hummels are. Old, old school figurines, right? At this point, worth so much money. And I had to make so many amends, especially to my mother,
mm,
because it was her stuff. My parents, my dad was born in 1928. My mom was born in 1940. So they had, and they were from Britain, Scotland. So they had stuff like from forever ago, right? Thank God we still have some because she was smart enough to hide it all after a while. But I pawned those Hummels, and I'll bet you, because I don't remember, but I'll bet you I pawned them for $20.
yeah.
They could probably buy me a small house.
Oh my God, do you remember those times?
It's
Thank
horrible.
God.
I mean, now
Like,
I kind of laugh, but it's like, oh God, what? Like, I would never do that. You, Ronnie, would never do that.
exactly.
Leslie on drugs, Ronnie on drugs. Yeah, totally. Totally. Without thinking, without even caring. Hmm.
And we're so creative and fast, right? Like, we think of ways to get this money
Yes.
today the fastest way possible. Like, I would be literally sweating and detoxing, and like, I just hope they just give me like at least $20 for this freaking widescreen TV that I'm
Right.
barely holding up with my weak detoxing arms. Just please. And then as soon as they say, all right, 25. Okay, we're on our way. We're on our way. Okay, we gotta go for the plug. And now he's gonna keep me waiting 3 hours.
Mhm.
I would wait hours at parking lots for these people. And yeah, man, it's just like it really changes the way you prioritize anything. So because of that, I lost everything. I lost my apartment. I lost my dream job that I've been working for since I was like 17. As soon as I knew I could internship for a radio station, I was there. I was going to school. I was like, I'll work for free. I just want to make sure I want to achieve my dreams. I
Right.
lost it all. You know, I lost the trust of my family. I I I literally lost myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
and
That's
that
powerful. That's the ultimate. That's what we lose.
literally, right? Like, it's just so crazy. And it literally doesn't care who you are, it doesn't care if you're on air or if you're a lawyer or if you, it doesn't care what you are, who you
Mm-mm,
are. It
mm-mm.
will grab you and take you
Yeah.
down.
And there aren't, it's like when people comment and, people love to video tweakers and, crackheads and then put them on TikTok or whatever just to make fun of them. And it's like, you know what? You can say never all you want. There are no nevers. There are only not yets because it doesn't care if you're a athlete, if you're LGBTQ plus, if you're whatever your ethnicity, your color, your education level, you have a PhD, you have 3 PhDs. It does not care. It does not care. There, we used to stay for fun. A whole bunch of us would go in on the Pontchartrain Hotel in downtown Detroit. And at the time, that was like the thing, right? It was money. And at the time, the rumor was, I can neither confirm nor deny this, so Pontchartrain, don't sue me. But the
Right.
rumor was there was a reason there were no smoke detectors in the room because it was people with money who stayed there, lawyers, doctors, the financial district dudes, whatever. I know I should think of that word, but I can't. So.
Right.
But yeah, that was the rumor even then, and I wasn't even using then, and like there was just stuff that people would say, and it's like looking back, you go, oh my, yeah, it doesn't care. It doesn't care, and the sooner people learn this, alcoholics. You know what alcoholics do? They went out. They wanted to have a drink with their friends, like millions of other people.
Mm.
It's Russian roulette. You don't know if you're addicted until you pull the trigger. So why even? Why?
Exactly. It's getting, I mean, I like that it's getting so much awareness now, and that's like the reason I choose to be so loud, like, because that's what saved me, like because I was convinced I was the only one doing drugs. Like, I was in
Right.
college and like, but it like there's just this one day where I saw they handed me a flyer. It says "End Stigma of Addiction." I'm like, oh my God, I need to check this out. And I remember going to the second floor of that university place, and I just saw all these random people laughing, like, and I like saying this because it's so important to me. Like, these people, if you just saw them at a first glance, you would not think they're friends, or you would just it's really kind of unique to imagine them showing up to a public place together because they all looked so different.
Mm-hmm.
They dressed differently. They were all different age groups, but they were all getting along.
Yeah.
That was like the
They all
first time.
immediately had something in common.
And they were smiling, and I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. And then I talked to them, and they gave me the number of this lady. Shout out to Miss Molly.
Molly.
Shout out to Molly. You saved my life. I remember I called her, and she's like, hi, honey, what's going on? And I was so scared to tell her. Like, I was just like, so like, I even think I lied to her. She's like, so how much are you using? Just like every like 8 hours. Like, I was so scared to tell her, but she really listened to me.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed on that phone with me for a significant amount of time. Like, it was the first time someone heard me, and I was like taking those veils off, right? Like, I'm an addict, I'm doing drugs, I'm stealing, I need help. Help me. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, like, because they did that event, I was just guided into the right direction of a rehab. I went to more than one rehab, but that was the first time I realized there's help. There's people like you. You're not the only one. And I think that just changed my world because I really thought I was the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome going to that rehab. But like I said, I went more than once. But this last time, because now I have a year clean and sober, and the difference is that I really just wanted it this time, like genuinely from the bottom of my heart. Like I just wanted sobriety.
Yeah.
I wanted to stop putting my life on hold, because that's what I was doing. I would like come in and out of the rooms. I would keep chasing emotionally unavailable individuals, sometimes in not the best settings. I don't even want to disclose because I could get in trouble, but it was just like, Ronnie, why you keep doing this to yourself?
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm just literally going to do everything they tell me. Anything they tell me, I'm just going to do it, because I clearly do not know what I'm doing. So I went through a 12-step program. And I even seeked out therapy, which I found was so incredibly helpful for me. And I've just been taking it literally one day at a time. And it has changed my world. Like, I can't believe I started like using and at like 20, and I'm 28 now. So those 8 years, right? Like I was just like, boom, 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 keep going, fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up. And now I feel confident enough to say that I am proud of this sobriety, because I've literally put my all in it. And also, the same way that flyer showed me, hey, there's more people like you. Now I feel I have that awesome opportunity to do that online. Like, hey, there's people like you.
And we talk about TikTok a lot in these well, two things. One, every addict that I have talked to I never went to rehab. If you see on my story, I had old school Scottish rehab. It was not fun.
Oh my God.
But everybody that goes to rehab, or anybody that's in the rooms or going through a recovery program, says the same thing. It finally worked when, one, I had it. Two, I started to, and this is a cliche from one of the 12 steps, programs, but they're cliches for a reason. When I chased that recovery as hard as I chased those drugs, if we put an ounce of effort, because it didn't matter how sick we were, it didn't matter if it was, a tornado warning, it didn't matter if all we had was like roller skates and an umbrella, we were going to figure out a way to get to where we needed to get money, get to where we needed to go, and get what we needed to get. If we could put just an ounce of that into our recovery, got into anything. I say this all the time. I'm like, we'd be millionaires.
Yes.
You have your own radio station.
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
Hey, 28, maybe you will.
Trust me. This is why I am now grateful for what I've gone through through my addiction, because I was a goody good. I got honor roll. I was like, I never really went out, but my addiction just forced me to see the real world. Forced me to be around people I never thought I would be. It forced me to, like, from the beginning, right? Detox. There was no easy way out of that. I had to go through that physical pain to learn and embrace that pain that I ultimately put myself through. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a, like, okay, you got to grow up. Like, and it showed me that I am so much more powerful than I think I am, because a lot of us are really lucky to even be in the rooms, one, or be familiar with solutions to aid that addiction, or you know what I mean? We're so lucky, because I was in a place, like I know still a lot of people are, where they have no clue that there's help, and some people don't make it, and we're so
ashamed, because although that's what I'm saying, is we talk about TikTok a lot in these Zoom interviews, because that's where I've met almost all of these interviews. And the recovery scene in TikTok is huge, and I think that's fantastic, because the youth scene is huge. And even if they call me a Karen and you a Travis or, you know, whatever, it's like they still saw the video. They still heard what I said. And if it sticks for one kid, awesome. You know, and the more we kill that stigma,
Yes.
the more we kill that shame, and the more people come forward and the more people live. And
Yes.
that's the
That's
goal.
so true. Like I'm just so passionate about this because I love that I go online, and whether it's YouTube, whether it's a podcast, whether it's TikTok, we are literally recovering out loud. And I think it's like the best, most beautiful thing that we can do, because it literally can just spark that little thing for someone who doesn't know that it's possible. And
Yeah.
I'm saying that because before I knew of rehabs, right? I would go on YouTube and I'd be like, addiction, blah, blah, blah. And I'd watch videos of people. And even thinking now, they would mention things like a meeting or a rehab. And I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know. I'm like, what's a meeting, or like, what's a rehab? Like, what is that? Like, all I was looking for though was like, how the hell do I get out of this? But it's important because it reaches so many people that are in that dark, dark place where we've all been there, right? Where it's just that freaking like hopelessness where there's just no fucking light. And
Mm-hmm.
it hurts my heart thinking that we've all been there, but we're fucking amazing because we fucking went through it.
Right.
Like fucking warriors, man. Like it's just like every one of us is so creative, so talented, so beautiful. And I hate that sometimes we forget the darkness that we fucking fought through. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's why I love that you're doing this. I love that we're all just like recovering out loud. And that's why I scream, we sober now, baby, because I'm so proud of that. Like
That's
I've
right.
I've met so many beautiful people like you. Like it's just, I would have never thought, at the trap house at
Right.
the time, all of you just waiting for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's magic. It's a miracle, like to be
Yeah.
able to be
And
around people
you
just
know,
like
it's
you.
funny because addicts, especially addicts who have recovered, are really badass. And and people will be like, oh, you're badass because you did drugs. No, no, no. I will be the first to admit when it comes to drugs, we're badass because we forced ourselves into situations where we had to be. I was and I am, like, now that I've been in recovery for years, I am the farthest thing from BA. Always, I was like you, I never went out. I was like proud super nerd. I was never bullied. I always had friends, but I always got A's, always, I was a good kid. I was the farthest thing from BA. But then it was like, okay, I either have to get through this situation or shrivel up and die. I mean, these are my choices. And yeah, it does, for some, it starts with a choice. Some of us end up in a hospital and get prescribed legal narcotics and end up addicted. So it's not, the brain chemistry, the brain actually changes. When you do drugs and when you drink long enough, the brain actually changes. So that is why they call it a disease, or some call it a disorder. I tell people and they're like, it's a choice. I'm like, you're right and wrong. Did it start with a choice to go out and have some drinks? Sure. Did it start with a choice to, smoke pot with a friend? Yeah. Ronnie didn't choose to get in an accident. He wasn't like, this will be sweet. Like, this will totally up my street cred.
Oh my God. Right? No, it's a crazy thing, man. Like it's bizarre. Like even I just remember one time I broke, because my mama, shout out to my mom, she's from a little town in Mexico. It was a lot for her to come out as gay for me. And then I came out as a drug addict, and she still tried every single time just to wrap her head around it. Just to try to understand. And I will forever be grateful for that. Like I remember sitting at the table, I was like crying to her, just like, why can't you just stop? If you're telling me that you want to stop, why can't you stop? And
That's the hardest question.
I'll never forget. I really meant what I said. I
Mhm.
was crying. I'm like, Mom, believe me, I want to stop, but I can't. And it's just so crazy because I really did, but I couldn't stop.
Yeah, it's wild. It is. It's that's the part that's really inexplicable, and that's because that's where the brain chemistry comes in. You know, your entire being is telling you you need this to survive. That's very hard to fight. You know, that's very hard to fight. I tell a lot of kids who you know, whose parents are in active addiction, because a lot of them are like, why wasn't I enough? Listen to me, to sober mom, to clean mom, you're totally enough. You were enough. They're in the grip of a disease, of a, you know, whatever you want to call it, and that is literally controlling their actions right now. It has nothing to do with you. What pisses me off is when people say, oh, she chose drugs over her kids. Don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't say that. They can hear you. You know, drives me insane. But anyway, soapbox.
No, I like that you say that because, you know, like for the longest time, I really believed thoroughly 100% that my dad chose like cocaine and alcohol over me. Like that's how I felt, you know.
Hmm.
But now going through this experience, like it breaks my heart. Like I don't know where he's at, you know what I mean? But I think about him more and more every single day as I like progress through my sobriety, and like I just really, because I know he wasn't guided into a situation like I was where it was like, here's help, you know. At
Right.
least I don't think he has, and I know that it wasn't, that I wasn't enough, you know, because now I understand like how that really just influences your brain. And it's a sad thing, but I think we're doing really amazing stuff by talking about it and sharing our very unique stories, all of us.
Yeah.
Um,
And
which
somebody
is,
is going to relate to one of these interviews,
mhm,
you know, because they're not going to be all the same. It's so funny because they are, in a lot of ways, they are the same. They are the same, but they're also so unique and different. And I get that it's a complete oxymoron, but you know, that's just how it is. We have these underlying things in common,
mhm,
but what we did in our addiction varies from person to person. And you know, somebody's going to relate to somebody's story. You know, somebody's story that somebody might be like, boring, nothing happened to me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my story. You know, and then there's another story where they're like, holy crap, how could you do all that? Somebody else is like,
right.
I did that, you know, like, so that's why we do this. That's why we do this. You know, it's prevention. It's to make addicts feel like, yeah, you can recover, and recovering addicts, you're not all by yourself.
Mhm.
You know, you've got a whole wide family, and now with social media, as horrible as it can be, it can also be used for a whole lot of good. You
Yes,
know, and that's what we're doing.
especially right now, you know, like during this whole thing that's going on with the world, like the world is doing its thing, right? And like I feel, and I'm sure a lot of us in recovery feel like a lot of our tools and resources have been like stripped away, or like just, you know, taken away in a sense, at least, that it's just a little bit more. I mean, I feel like I just can't imagine trying to get sober during this time, right? Where things are very limited and it's
Right.
just more stress around the world. Like it's just on top of you trying to get sober. Let's have this.
Yeah.
So shout out to everybody like getting sober right now, because it is a very unique time that we're
It
living
is.
in. And damn, we out here still, you know.
We are. So Ronnie, tell people how they can find you on TikTok or Instagram or wherever.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Y'all can find me on TikTok, tiktok.com/Ronnie Morales, RonnyMorales. We could be friends. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
It will be. Ronnie, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story and your heart and everything else. This was awesome. I'm going to save it immediately.
Thank you so much.